that counterclockwise circulation. That's why the National Weather Service is concerned about that potential for a tornado. And again, we show velocity right now, kind of that red against green towards the center of your screen. Winds heading in two different directions over a very short distance. The inference is, of course, rotation. So that's why it's very dangerous if you're in Culpeper or just west of the city of Culpeper. That's where that tornado warning is, in western Culpeper County. It remains in effect for the next little while, but it's imperative folks seek shelter now, lowest floor of whatever building they're in, and avoiding windows. Again, soon to head north of Culpeper, too. You can see all these areas impacted. Route 229 is in that zone. The broader area has a yellow severe thunderstorm warning, but our biggest concern is for that tornado warning. So what do you do during a tornado warning? You want to be in shelter, lowest floor of whatever building you're in, and away from windows, putting as many layers between yourself and the outside world as you possibly can. Again, we'll throw velocity back on, just kind of show you what's going on with that storm. And we can see, even if we don't get a possible tornado, we still have very strong winds in the storm. Anything light blue colored is kind of winds gusting upwards of 55 to 60 miles per hour. So straight line winds are concerned, but definitely when you have changing winds over a very short distance, the inference is, of course, possible rotation. We are seeing that rotation right here. It's up at radar level. Whether or not it snakes down to the ground remains to be seen. But again, tornado warning for areas near and just west of Culpeper. So if you're in that area, you want to be below ground if at all possible, putting as many layers between yourself and the outside world as you can. Now, one piece of good news, you can watch us on the live stream, fox5.com/live or fox5bc.com/live. Bring us on your tablet, your mobile device. Don't stay in your living room with the windows, with the TV set. Take us with you to your shelter. We'll give you the all clear when it's time to kind of get up out of the shelters. But for now, it remains a very dangerous storm. And again, one thing I want to point out, this looks like kind of a confusing radar plot, but if we look right here, we see a few pixels west of Culpeper. This is something called spectrum width. Essentially, it shows us how chaotic the motions in the atmosphere are. And anytime we see kind of a bullseye like this, that tells me there's turbulence, local turbulence, something chaotic in that region of the atmosphere. And that is the same place we're seeing that velocity couplet, that kind of green against blue right here, with winds heading in different speeds and directions over a short distance, i.e. rotation. So the fact those two signatures are linking up tells me there is rotation there. If we broaden out, however, we see several little couplets of rotation, one north and west, one near Culpeper, one a little farther east of Culpeper. So multiple different areas of circulation, and that's why it's imperative. If you're in this line of storms, you'll want to seek shelter. Again, this tornado warning is in effect for Culpeper and cities west and north of Culpeper, greater parts of Culpeper County, all the way east towards Remington. However, we also have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. So again, if you're in that red box, you want to seek shelter now, lowest floor of whatever building you're in, and avoiding windows. If you're in a mobile home, vehicle, outdoors, you want to get to a site-built location and protect yourself from possible flying debris if anything touches down. So areas in Culpeper County, very much under the gun right now. For example, folks along looks like Route 522, 229, 717 near the Mountain Run Winery, eventually heading north towards Hansham Brothers. In the direction of, it looks like 729 as well. So Culpeper points nearby and to the west are at the greatest concern right now. But we go back over to radar real quick. We are multitasking right here. You'll be able to see, again, it's for what we call the northern bookend vortex, the northern part of the squall line, kind of curling back on itself. That's what we're seeing right now. And once again, on spectrum width, we can see this kind of orange line, if you will. That shows us where the wind shift line associated with this squall line is. Ahead of the squall, winds out of the south, southeast. Behind the squall, kind of the southwest, and eventually the west, and later after that, the northwest. So when those two kind of changing air masses meet along the squall line, they can spin up little kinks of rotation, and that's what we're seeing right now. So Culpeper, near and just northwest of the city, a little bit west of, looks like Catalpa, is where that circulation is right now. Culpeper likely seeing winds gusting over 50 miles per hour as the squall moves through. But my biggest concern is that potential tornado just west of Culpeper, passing over, looks like Route 522 right now, and in the direction of yes, Gwen.
I was just looking, and I'm seeing that there's a lot of lightning in this. If we come back to Max 1 for a second and kind of look at this and how it's moving its way across the area. Can we pick up Max 1? There we go. And you can see right there how it is really a lot of lightning instilled in this thing. And once again, here's where the tornado warning is, once again from Culpeper, but also there is severe thunderstorm watches and warnings as well, as Matthew has said, the entire area. Baltimore City, Fairfax, Prince George's County, now also under that until 6 o'clock. So look at some of the neighborhoods that it's heading in the direction of: Hartwood, Widewater, as well as Waldorf, Prince Frederick, all of you under the gun. And as Matthew mentioned, you do have to take cover. Go to the lowest room in your house or go go into an enclosed area inside where there's no windows, a bathroom, for example. But do make sure that you do protect yourself from this. Stay away from windows. This has got copious amounts of rainfall with it as well, and an awful lot of lightning in there. The severe thunderstorm watch is for the entire area until 6, but this is what we're trying to concentrate on now to let you know about that tornado that's moving its way through, and quite dangerous situation there, Matt.
Try to switch again.
Matt, are you there? All right, so I'm going to just zone in on this a little bit more. I'm over here at the weather computer, so that's why you're not seeing me. But I am going to, once again, put on the property here of where this is so that you can see it. And as we said, right there, that is the area that you have to be aware of because of the warning. This is radar indicated, but you know what? We've seen this happening for the day with the severe storms that have been popping up left and right. Hail is also a possibility with this. I'm going to just track it again here. This is the area that you can see that is all encompassed in this, and with all the lightning that we mentioned. So that is the severe thunderstorm warning and the tornado warning that we want to tell you about. Tornado warning for Culpeper until 1 o'clock. Matt?
And one thing I want to point out too, Gwen, if we can take Max 3 real quick, is that this thing's moving northeast at 40 miles per hour, so it doesn't have to wait in traffic. So we're not going to, wait for this thing to come in. It's coming right now. So it's imperative folks don't hesitate. If they're listening to us right now, they're watching us, they got the buzz on their phones, they have to be in shelter on the lowest floor of whatever building they're in, putting as many layers between themselves and the outside world as they possibly can. This is especially important for folks in Culpeper. It looks like Wrigleyville, Catalpa, and Cardova in the next little while as well. This goes in effect until 1 p.m. So we still have another 22 minutes with this tornado warning. Again, the broader area under a severe thunderstorm warning also until 1 p.m. So a lot going on, a lot to track with this. But we notice very prominently, I can stop the radar real quick right here. We see that kind of curl back, if you will, of this storm. The entire thing's a squall line. I'll zoom out a little bit for you real quick. So we see this whole thing takes like the format of an archer's bow, a backward C, if you will. And then that curl back on itself is right near Culpeper. That's what we call the northern bookend vortex. Essentially, the northern part of the squall line curls back on itself, takes on some counterclockwise circulation, and the potential exists for that to snake down to the ground in the form of a tornado. Thus far, we don't have any confirmation of a tornado. And one thing I'm noticing, too, the wind field getting a little more broad, a little more diffuse. I'm not seeing that tight rotation we saw earlier on. But that said, still likely strong straight line winds near Culpeper, gusting upwards about, I'd say, 50 miles per hour, perhaps more in that lighter blue shading right here near and east of the city, eventually moving towards northern Culpeper County. So next in line, Catalpa, eventually Wrigleyville, and areas along looks like 625 west of Brandy Station and along Route 15 as well. So everybody in that area, you want to be in shelter, putting as many layers between yourself and the outside world as you possibly can. It's imperative. Just do what we say. Try to make sure you can kind of hunker down the next little while and wait it out. Might only be 15, 20 minutes more this tornado warning is in effect, but the potential exists for something significant with this storm. Again, on days like today, we're not seeing the hulking thunderstorms to 50,000 feet that we sometimes see in the summertime. So don't expect the typical environmental cues. The skies might not look super dark. The skies might not drop big hail. It might not be the super intense downpour first. With these kind of storms, oftentimes the tornadoes are actually rain wrapped if one does form. And you can see exactly why. Look at all this rain kind of swirling around that counterclockwise spin. If there was a tornado, it would likely be right towards the center of your screen, near or west of Catalpa. But look at all that rain across the area. Again, looking at velocity right now. And I'm seeing a couple areas of diffuse spin. It does not look nearly as tight as it did earlier on. But notice kind of the shading of the green right here. The lighter green takes on this sort of a bendy S shape, if you will. This is what we call a QLCS, or a quasi-linear convective system. It sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Basically, a squall line with quick forming little kinks in the line, little circulations that can spin up, and any of them could produce a tornado with very short notice today. One thing we noticed today, we're not having a lot of juice, not much instability. It's not super warm. It's not super humid. The storms aren't super tall. We don't have a ton of fuel, but we have a ton of robust shear, or a change of wind speed and or direction with height. So any storms that grow tall enough feel those changing winds with height, and they try to tap into that in the form of rotation. So that's exactly what we're watching right now, and Matt, near and north of Culpeper. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. And Matt, as we go back to Max 1, we know how hot it was yesterday here across the area and just how intense that heat was. And like you're saying, not quite as warm today. In fact, this morning I saw a little bit of sun, but mainly some cloudy skies. My concern, of course, was the more sun that we would have, the more fuel for the fire, so to speak, to make it fairly unstable. But take a look at this line of storms that's it continues right across the entire area that we're speaking about. Not only are we still under the watch until 6, but as Matt pointed out, this is actually continuing over the area where we have the tornado. And you can see there's a lot of intensity in all of this. Here are some of the neighborhoods that are in the path of this, from Warrenton to Gainesville, Burke, Washington, Bowie, and take a look at the times. We're looking at these areas as well getting impacted. Hopefully not with the tornado. Hopefully this will start to die itself out and try to weaken out at some point before it even starts to move forward toward the east, but we're going to have to watch it pretty closely. There's been an awful lot of cloud-to-ground lightning in this, and here's a look at the correlation coefficient, and here we're not seeing anything that indicates there's anything on the ground, so that's at least a good thing. But however, all the factors are in place and all the elements are there, so this is why we're really concerned about this. And as Matt pointed out, the one thing we want to continue to tell you is that make sure you go to the lowest level of ground that you possibly can. Make sure that you stay away from windows and just stay very safe in all of this, because this event is not over. Matt?
Yeah, most definitely. And one thing, if we can actually pull up Max 3 right now, I want to show folks at home a very interesting signature right now that I think is worth talking about. We're seeing something called spectrum width. Again, we talked about it earlier on. It shows you the amount of chaos in different pixels in terms of the different motions we're seeing in the atmosphere. So you'll notice along the wind shift line on the leading edge of these storms, kind of an orange signature, if you will, marking sort of where the wind is changing direction. But we notice near and just northwest of Catalpa, there's kind of a red bullseye right there. That shows you there's a lot of turbulence in those pixels, which could be something associated with a potential mesocyclone or the spinning part of the storm before producing a possible tornado vortex. If we switch over to velocity, showing us the way that winds are going inside the storm, we see kind of a couplet of lighter blue against darker green right here, northwest of Catalpa in northwestern Culpeper County, at the same place that turbulence in the atmosphere was seen. So what that tells me, there's some rotation there. The radar sensing a lot of turbulence, chaotic motion. So if there was a tornado, it would be just a few miles northwest of Catalpa, looks like near and just west of Route 229, eventually heading a little bit north of 729. So folks near the Nokesville Heating and AC area, the Alum Spring Baptist Church, 633, eventually looks like in the direction of Rixieville Road. Again, that's 729 and 229. You guys are where that circulation is right now and moving in the direction of in the next little while. So it's imperative you seek shelter, lowest floor of whatever building you're in, and avoiding windows, mobile home, vehicle outdoors. You want to be in a site-built location and protecting yourself from flying debris. Again, we are seeing that rotation kind of intensify a little bit right now, tightening just west of 229 by about a mile or two on the northwestern fringes of Culpeper County. We don't have any storm reports yet, which is good news. And overall, we see this is sort of just the start of this entering our viewing area. We broaden out, we can see in that big yellow box, that's a severe thunderstorm watch for the entire area. The conditions are ripe today for some damaging winds with any storms that do form. That's the concern today, in addition to quick little spin-ups. We're not seeing classic supercell thunderstorms. These are not big rotating storms. These are little kinks in the line, little circulations spinning up along the leading edge of storms. Gwen, I think I heard you. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to tell you the tornado warning has now been canceled.
Awesome.
We are still under the severe thunderstorm warning for the area, as you said, with that polygon with the red line around it, which we're just going to watch carefully because that's a very strong storm. But good news, the tornado warning has now been canceled. So if we take a look here, you can see there still has an awful lot of rainfall associated with this system, an awful lot of strong storms as well. And this has got an awful lot of cloud-to-ground lightning in it. So this is continuing to move its way off to the northeast. So these neighborhoods are still all in the line of fire. It doesn't mean that we won't get another tornado warning or a tornado watch. We're hoping we don't. But the intensity of this squall line here is pretty evident to show that it is full of major, major storms. Take a look at the lightning strikes that are in this. Just unbelievable. But good news is, and we'll go back here to the correlation coefficient, there was nothing here that indicated that anything that was on the ground. And that's at least good news. And now we know that that tornado warning has now been canceled. However, the severe thunderstorm warning is still in place. And we're still under a severe thunderstorm watch as well. I'm just going to query this warning that's here. And that is for Culpeper, Fauquier, and this is until 1 o'clock that the severe thunderstorm warning is still in place there. So once again, all those neighborhoods that are in the line of fire there, and let's kind of query this a little bit and see where some of those neighborhoods are that you do have to be very careful. This is moving in the northeast. So there we have Dale City, Mount Vernon, Washington, Lanham as well, all in the line of fire of that very, very strong storm. Matt?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And once again, it is very important that folks know today what they have to do just to make sure they can get to their safe place if need be at a moment's notice later on today. So again, the circulation has weakened right now. That tornado warning has been allowed to expire, but it's very important folks know that later on today, the environment is ripe for more tornado warnings scattered about the area. We don't know where. It's kind of like playing a game of whack-a-mole. These things spin up very quickly. They spin down very quickly. That's the nature of storms today. So you might not have as much lead time as you ordinarily otherwise would. For now, I think it's safe to go back to normal programming, but later on, if need be, we'll break in once again. Anytime there's a tornado warning, we're here with you. We are watching this with you. And ultimately, Gwen, I think we're good for now, but it's important folks remain in a heightened state of awareness and remain vigilant all day long.
Well, exactly. We're still under a slight risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. So that's something we have to take seriously. I showed everybody that this morning in the yellow area that was indicated on our map, that we are still under a slight risk for severe weather up until about 6 o'clock this evening. So do stay weather aware with us. We'll keep you up to date. This is a great time to download the Fox 5 weather app because you can track it because we have real-time radar there. And of course, I'm on Twitter and Facebook, and definitely will continue to keep you updated as we go along. We'll now return you to your regular programming. Severe thunderstorm warning crawl. I need the crawl. Let me just tell you I'll tell you how much. Okay, let me just check this.